Hi, welcome to National Training Providers Toolbox Talks. This video is one in a series of Toolbox Talks available on our YouTube channel. Have a look at the others in the series along with our other free training videos covering all sorts of informative, interesting and useful information. Click like and subscribe so we can let you know when new videos are uploaded. In this Toolbox Talk, I'm covering the procedures to be followed after a road traffic collision. Now, even if all the principles of defensive driving are followed, it will sometimes be impossible for you to avoid a collision. In the event of an incident occurring, it's critical that the correct procedures are followed to minimise risk of prosecution, avoid invalidation of vehicle insurance, and to allow managers to make a thorough investigation in the interests of maintaining safe and legal operations. Now, bear in mind that I'm only referring to UK law, as individual countries throughout the EU will all have their own different requirements. Okay, so it's important that you understand your responsibilities and that you carry them out after a collision has occurred. Your employer has a duty to brief you on your responsibilities and provide any documentation and equipment that you may need to carry out these procedures. This may form part of your driver training. I'm also going to tell you the one thing that most drivers do that you definitely shouldn't. So keep on watching and I'll explain. Now, the Road Traffic Act provides a specific definition of accident as a situation where, owing to the presence of a mechanically propelled vehicle on a road or other public place, personal injury is caused to a person other than the driver of the vehicle, or damage is caused to one of the following: another vehicle, an animal other than one in that vehicle, and for the purposes of the Act, animal refers to a horse, cattle, ass, mule, sheep, pig, goat or dog, or any property on, fixed to, growing in or otherwise forming part of the land on which the road or public place is or adjacent to it. And this can include roadside hedges and crops in fields adjacent to the road. Now, the Act also applies to other public places, which includes car parks and other private land that's open to the public, plus applies to a vehicle which is parked in such a way that it causes an obstruction and is part of an accident that may ensue because of its presence, even though it suffers no damage itself. For example, one that's restricting another driver's view on the approach to a bend or maybe a road junction. Now, the first concerns after any accident must be for the safety of those involved and to prevent the situation from getting any worse. If possible, moving to a safer location must be considered. Immediate steps must be taken to ensure that other traffic has adequate warning of the accident and any obstruction caused. Hazard warning lights should be illuminated and vehicle lights left on if it's at night. Without compromising your own safety, you should place a warning triangle in an appropriate position, having regard to the road situation. If attendance by the emergency services is required, a single 999 call to the police will be sufficient, as the police control room will then alert the other services if required. So what are your statutory duties then following a road accident? So, following an accident as defined above, you must stop and give certain details to any other person who might reasonably require them. These are your name and address, vehicle details, make, model, registration number, and the name and address of the vehicle's owner. Additionally, if and only if any injury is caused to a third party, the driver is required to produce a valid certificate of motor insurance or evidence of security at the scene. Now, to minimise time spent at the accident scene, you could give the third party a card with your company details, contact telephone number and a copy of the insurance certificate if one's necessary. If all of these requirements are complied with at the scene, then there's no further action required and no need to call the police. But don't forget though, you must report the accident to your employer straight away. Now, providing that the driver's statutory duties are fulfilled at the scene of the accident, no need to report the accident to the police. However, if any of these requirements cannot be carried out immediately, the accident must be reported to a police constable or a police station as soon as is reasonably practicable, and in any case within 24 hours of the occurrence of the accident. Now, this 24-hour allowance doesn't mean that reporting can be delayed that long. The requirement is to report as soon as is reasonably practicable, and any undue delay may still result in prosecution for failing to report the accident. Reporting should not be delayed because of non-availability of the insurance certificate or other documentation. You've got a further 7 days allowed to produce these after reporting. Now, failing to stop and provide details after an accident is an offence. However, there are cases when it may not be possible or advisable. Example, in the event of a minor collision, say on a motorway where both vehicles are able to continue, there's going to be great danger involved in stopping on the hard shoulder to exchange details. In other cases, particularly with long vehicles, minor damage may be caused to another vehicle or property without the driver being aware of the fact at the time. In these cases, reporting to the police as soon as possible after leaving the motorway at the next exit, or as soon as the driver becomes aware of the damage, may be sufficient to avoid prosecution. Now, as well as the legal duties mentioned, there are other actions that you can take to avoid exposing yourself, your employer and the insurance company to unjustified or inflated claims. Take photographs of the general accident scene, showing the positions of the vehicles involved, relevant road signs and markings, skid marks, any other vehicles that may be causing an obstruction. Make written notes of damage to all vehicles, including any that appears to have been there prior to the accident, with detailed photographs. Make a note of the weather conditions and make a note of any witnesses, which vehicles they're in, and take their contact details if they're willing to give them. Now, checking for damage can be difficult, especially in the aftermath of an accident, and it's easy to miss something. On modern vehicles, some seemingly cosmetic damage can conceal significant but unseen damage to the vehicle structure. Now, mentioned, mistake that most people make. The one mistake, and it's absolutely crucial, is you must be aware that you should not admit liability at the scene in order not to prejudice any future legal or insurance investigation. When exchanging details, especially if there's an injury involved, make sure that you don't admit liability. I cannot stress that enough. In fact, if the police do attend, they'll have a chat with you, making notes. You are within your rights to make no comment at all about the incident. In fact, it's definitely the best practice. A throwaway comment made soon after the accident could be incriminated in the long run. Imagine an innocent comment made in general chat that your kids were up in the night, something like that, and it being twisted to show that actually you was driving whilst tired. Without actually refusing to assist the police, only give the details mentioned earlier, those that you legally have to. Now, in the event of a serious accident where a vehicle or vehicles obviously cannot be moved, there'll be no alternative but to leave them where they are and call the police. If the damage is light and the vehicles can be moved, it will minimise traffic congestion and delays to others if the vehicles are moved, at least clearing their carriageway as soon as possible. This can be done before exchanging details, but general photographs of the scene should be taken first before you move them. If it appears that a vehicle can continue its journey, you must check carefully for leakage of any fluids, the operation of items such as brakes and steering, and then proceed with special caution, prepared for anything unusual in the way it drives. As soon as possible, the vehicle must be given a full examination by a qualified person. Now, some insurance companies will take only the most basic information over the phone when a report's made and not seek further details unless the third-party insurers actually contest a claim. Now, this could be some weeks later when important details have been forgotten, so it's best practice to record as many details as possible regarding the incident circumstances immediately after it with your employer. Thanks ever so much for watching this Toolbox talk on the procedures to be followed after being involved in a road traffic collision. Don't forget to click like and subscribe so that we can let you know when new videos are uploaded. Check out our other free training videos, including more Toolbox talks and interesting, informative and useful videos. Thanks again. See you soon.